Fun. That's fun. Enter it now.
Connecticut Sports Talk lives here. You're listening to The Rob Dibble Show.
Joining us now on the hotline is one of our favorite people on the planet, Dom Amore from the Hartford Courant. Dom, how you doing, bud?
Great, guys. How are you guys doing?
We were just talking about the draft over the weekend and stuff like that. Wanted to get your thoughts on that, including Chase Lundt. He was picked by the Buffalo Bills in the 6th round out of UConn. What did you think about the draft? What do you think about how the NFL handles the draft?
Well, I thought you had obviously a unique situation with Shedeur Sanders. And it was almost like a perfect storm. He obviously the league did not have him rated as highly as the analysts did. That happens at times, especially because the analysts kind of stopped collecting information at some point before the draft, while the GMs and the front offices continue to evaluate. I also think that him not working out for teams and working out at the combines, teams didn't have the information that you'd want to have if you're going to pull the trigger on a guy really high in the draft. And the big thing is, Rob, when you're talking about Deion Sanders, you're not talking about just a meddling dad. You're talking about a guy who is very likely to not only critique the front office and the coaches, but really campaign to get people fired and get himself in the job. I think there's every reason to believe or to worry about that. So I think those are all things that teams just didn't want to deal with, especially with a high pick where you'd be invested and you wouldn't really have leverage. So I think now where the Browns picked him, if he works out, great. If he doesn't, or if there's blowback from people, they can cut him any time. So I just think he put himself and everything involved. He was in a bad situation. Really kind of unfortunate for the kid. As far as locally, I was a little surprised to see Tyler Booker from New Haven go as high as he did. But, once offensive linemen start coming off the board early, the guys start to move up in stock. And I think Chase Lundt's going to be a real good one. UConn has really produced a lot of offensive linemen that have gone on. Gordy Samus just does a great job coaching offensive linemen at UConn, and it shows with the products in the NFL. So those are my thoughts in a nutshell on the draft.
I'm still worried. I have a weird mixed emotions about Tyler Booker. Now, Tyler Booker from New Haven went to Alabama and was a stud, captain of that Crimson Tide team, and he started at New Canaan, and then he goes to IMG real quick out of Bradenton, Florida, and we claim him because he was born here. He played his adolescence here, but it makes me feel like that's an indictment on the CIAC and high school football around here. Like, if you're a great 8th grade player, get out of Connecticut because you got a better chance in another state or another school or one of these premier programs to make it in the first round of the draft.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that, Ben. But, where he went to IMG, that's really for the elite of the elite who go there. And I think almost any state is bound to lose elite players to that particular program. Cooper Flagg, Liam McNeely on basketball, that's where they went. They left their states, Texas and Maine, and they went down there. So there is some truth to to top players leaving CIA schools and going to play in prep schools, even in Connecticut. Right. You see a lot of that. But I think when you're talking about a player that was good enough to go to Alabama and start and go in the first round of the NFL, he's going to go and play at the highest level. And IMG is probably a place a lot more kids want to go there than actually get to go there.
And he likes his pet turtles. He's bringing them to Dallas.
He was the guy that get crazy over his pet turtles?
Yes.
Dibs loves him because he's a cowboy.
He's a cowboy. You're going to be fine. Let's talk some UConn baseball. They started slow, which happens. They play some ridiculous competition early in the season, but it looks like UConn baseball is getting into shape, getting ready for a possible run in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it sure looks that way now, Rob. They've won 13 in a row, which is the longest active winning streak going. When they lost the first couple of Big East series, I thought, well, you know what? This is going to be, they've been due for a bad year, and this is going to be the year that it just doesn't come together. But they've put it all together. Now, they haven't put it all together. They're not really getting the pitching, but they're getting enough pitching, especially at the back end of the games, and they're just scoring runs double digits game after game after game, and just came up with a big 3-game sweep on the road at St. John. So they're in a very, very good position. If they can keep on doing what they're doing, more or less, win all the games that they should win, they should be in a position to get a tournament bid without having to win the Big East tournament. But they're playing really, really well, and I'll tell you, they're doing it with some Connecticut high school kids. You know, they have their transfers, and some of their D3 transfers, yes. But they've got a couple of Connecticut high school kids really, really doing well for them. Connor Lane, the player of the year from Old Saybrook last year, and Ryan Daniels from St. Paul, Meriden. He's really tearing it up after missing last year with a hip injury. So, yeah, they've really got it. They're playing really, really well, and it's going to be fun to watch them. I saw them last week, and want to try to get to maybe see their game against Rutgers tomorrow.
You just named two of my faves, Ryan Daniels and Connor Lane. I got a chance to interview Connor Lane a week and a half ago. First time I got to stand next to this kid, Dom. And it's like you see it. Like you see it in his face. Like his jaw is just huge. Like his hands, when he shook my hand, it crushed my hand. Like I feel like this guy is a prospect. Where do you put him in that kind of world? I know it's early. I know it's his freshman year, but he was getting big talk out of Old Saybrook as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He is a presence. You know, I mean, he's a big kid, a big strong kid, and he's a ball player. You know, I mean, he's a catcher. That's where he wanted to. It's what he wanted to play. But I saw him play shortstop and pitch for Old Saybrook. I mean, he did it all, and of course he could hit. I think he would have been drafted last year if he was maybe, if depending on what his demands were salary-wise. I think that's what kept him out of the draft. But I think he's a guy that, not many players, especially catchers, break in to play at UConn as a freshman. He's done that. And I think as he gets 3 years under his belt, I think he's a guy that could be a very high draft pick for UConn.
Yeah, and I think Josh McDonald's done a very nice job. I mean, yes, they didn't pitch well early, and yes, they gave up 17 runs this weekend against St. John's, but they scored 44. And their team ERA is under 6, and the opponent's ERA is over 7. So they're mashing the ball. And listen, it's not easy, man. I think in the transfer world, even of baseball, I love the way Jim Penders works. I tell this to my 16U team, Dom. Last year he had 7 Division III transfers on his team. Now, a lot of clubs probably had 7 D1 transfers on their team. He had 3. He had 7 D3 guys. So they're going to every level, looking at everything to try to get the best team possible. And maybe talk a little bit more about Tom Penders. He doesn't get enough recognition nationally, but I know locally this guy, like you said, he's trying to get more players out of New England to come play for UConn.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Gino Auriemma says all the time he's the best coach at UConn in any sport. And
that's high praise.
In fact, that's one of the few things that Gino and Jim Calhoun agree on. They both love him.
Wow.
So it's he really obviously to be doing what he and he could do anything. By the way, he's sometimes mentioned as an athletic director candidate, and he could certainly do that if he wanted to. But I think he loves hitting fungos too much. But yeah, they leave no stone unturned. They find a lot of talent, and what they've done, they adjust because like right now. I was talking to him before the season started, Rob, and, everybody's on to that Division III thing now because of the success that they had. Other schools are doing that. So now they're switching up again, and they're going more looking at JUCO kids. They get a lot of JUCO kids from California. But, yeah, I think – but I do think that with the portal and the NIL and the extra COVID year – they got away from developing their own high school prospects for a couple of years there. And I think maybe now they're starting to get back to that, which would be, I think, a good thing for them to do. So they've got some big stars from Connecticut high schools that are playing great. And, again, Bill Parcells used to say, you have to use every avenue of talent procurement. And that's something that UConn baseball does as well as anybody. That's use every avenue available to get talent.
Speaking of transfers, UConn men's basketball already lost one of their freshman commits, McDonald's All-American Darius Adams. I'm seeing schools as Maryland. Oh, I bet. And Georgetown, what's Cooley doing? Making like UConn light down there? Goodness.
Backing up the Brinks truck. They got a big endowment down there.
All right, speaking of that,
Georgetown.
what do you know? What have you heard? Give us the scoop on why Darius Adams decided to decommit from UConn.
Well, I don't think it's any mystery. Granted, you look at what freshman point guards have experienced at UConn. Dan hasn't really played them. I mean, he can be tough on point guards, and Ahmad Noel really never got to play last year, and they desperately needed another point guard, more point guard play, but he never got on the court very much, and Rasul Diggins never really got on the court very much, and I think Darius probably looked at that. He recruited over him, brought in 2 experienced point guards, and he probably felt that I'm going to go the way of those guys, and I'm going to sit my whole freshman year and never get to play. So I'm sure that's the other side of the portal. No one goes to college to sit on the bench in any sport. And I think he was looking at maybe sitting on the bench most of the time his first year, and maybe didn't have the fire to try to compete against those experienced guys to get on the court. I mean, that's the other side of it too. You certainly want guys that want to accept the challenge and compete for minutes. And apparently, he was somebody who expected minutes to be a given, and they weren't going to be, and they're never going to be for a freshman, particularly at that position at UConn. So I think he just saw the writing on the wall that he wasn't going to get to play much, and he left.
Yeah, and with the addition of Silas DeMary and Malachi Smith with solo ball, he really wasn't probably going to get that time. Plus, he's probably looking for some more cash too. That sweetens the deal. Maryland or Georgetown, and Michigan State, I'm sure, and Tennessee are going to talk to him again. Let's talk New York Yankees. They have a couple of great players in that lineup, like they did last year. Goldschmidt is off to a great start, and today I even saw that they're already getting ready for the All-Star game. They're how they go out there and they give the ballots out. And I'm like,
already
35 games in.
Exactly,
Ben. That's my thought. So when is it too early to you, Dom, to start talking MLB All-Star game?
Well, given the process and how it plays out. I think this is probably too early. Ideally, with the internet, in the old days when we had to remember punch out the ballots with the hanging chads and all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
it would take a couple of
stuff in the ballot boxes in St. Louis.
Bring it back.
Yeah, exactly. And it would seem as if that they could streamline the process and really start around June 1st or June 10th. Would probably be the best time to start it. But, the All-Star game, and rightfully so, it's not always the guy that's having the best year this year. A lot of times it's a career achievement thing, or it's a proven guy who's time-tested. So, you kind of know who those guys are. I don't think you need another month to vote for Aaron Judge, right?
Yeah, right.
I think you could vote for him right now, and I don't know if you need another month to maybe vote for some of the other people who would be in that category. So, but yeah, as far as the Yankees go, Rob, obviously they've got to solve what's going on with Devin Williams. I thought they missed the boat.
They moved their closer out.
9-1 lead.
Yeah.
9-1 lead, get him out there, let him pitch an inning, and don't let him sit for a week. Cause
I actually watched the Toronto game, and they were sitting on his changeup. I mean, I'm not their pitching coach. I know he's a sequencing guru, but when they're sitting on your changeup, they're not going to try to hit your fastball. That is whoever's calling the game. If it's not the big league catcher, that's somebody else from the bench. And we've seen the last couple of years between Gary Sanchez and Trevino, who, by the way, Trevino's doing a much better job with the Reds than he was with the Yankees, and I think that's a coaching thing. But I agree with you with the closer's role. I mean, you're 2 games up, but your closer is the reason why you're going to win a championship this year. They got to get him right.
Yeah, they got to get him straightened out. And Weaver, I like Weaver in the 7th, 8th inning because he can pitch multiple innings. He's been a starter. So I think they're a better bullpen if he's the closer. But, again, I just always feel like the way to fix something like this is to not let him sit for a week, get him right back out
Pitch
there
every other day.
in a non-safe situation.
Yeah.
So if he's not injured, which could always be the case, yesterday they missed a chance to get him out there in a 9-1 lead. Crowd's in a good mood. Let him see if he can get through an inning. I like the way they quote pivoted from losing Soto and adding some other pieces. I think has really been beneficial to them. Obviously, Goldschmidt is off to a good start, although he hasn't hit with power, which is a little bit of a concern at first base. But the thing you like about them, Rob, is that they're doing pretty well, and I think they have a lot of guys who haven't really gotten on track yet. So I think there's the possibility that for a lot of those guys, their best hitting, their best pitching, their best performances are still in front of them, and they're in first place more or less. So I think I think things are looking pretty good for them.
They finally put Judge in the 3 spot yesterday. Finally. He's got, all right, I hate this, Dom. I hate the lineups of the Yankees. I hate how they lead off a catcher every now and then. They had Grisham lead off a center fielder. That seems like making sense.
Well, he's hitting 350.
And that makes sense. Again, I just all right, so he had 10 hits in the last 5 games, only 2 RBIs. One of those RBIs is a solo home run. They're not doing him any favors in these statistical categories, and Judge is still murdering the league. I'm a Yankees hater, Dom, but I love this guy, and I feel like they're setting him up to fail all the time. But speak on Judge. Yeah. He's just carried this over. I was so happy, and Kurt and I are both Yankees haters, but we both were so happy that Judge followed up his huge contract year monster season with another great performance, and he's doing it again to start this season. I just think that the clip that he is on, he is going to be one of the best ever that you're going to be talking about in your next book for Yankees.
Can't argue with any of that, Ben, because he keeps getting better.
Yeah.
The things that were weak points for him earlier in his career, he's actually getting better. I mean, he's become not just an all-or-nothing strikeout guy or home run guy anymore. He hits for average. He's hitting the 400. So, yeah, he seems to keep getting better. I think he's going to really profit by being in right field where he belongs. I think he's an elite right fielder. We've seen some of the throws that he's made. But, yeah, I mean, I think to me he's, if I were building a team from scratch, he would be the first guy that I picked. As much as, Ohtani is a great player, he's really a DH. I think the pitching is ultimately going to be a sideshow for him. If he pitches, it's just, I don't think he's going to play a meaningful role as a pitcher at this point. But Judge is a great outfielder, and he's an all-around hitter. And, I know people are going to point to the postseason as if he hasn't hit 16 home runs in postseason play. I mean, he's had his moments in postseason, but I certainly hope he gets another chance because I'd hate to see that drop ball in center field haunt him for the rest of his life. But you put aside those things, and yeah, you're watching historic excellence when you watch him.
Dom, you're the best. We appreciate your time, my man, and we'll be calling you soon.
Thank you, Dom.
You got it. Look for an Alex Caravan announcement very soon.
Oh, nice. Nice tease on the way out. We appreciate you, Dom.
Thanks, Dom.
All right, you got it, man.
All right, First Dibs question of the day sponsored by Long Drink. Next.